Syed Fasiuddin from Washington, D.C. Today I am planning to present what are the different types of career options available in the software field. Many of the times I get the inquiry from people, job seekers, who are planning to start their career in the software field or IT field. And they have a lot of confusion, a lot of questions. They don't know which field they have to choose, which kind of career they have to choose, whether the IT field is good or not. Someone is trying to come from non-IT into IT. And sometimes people choose the career in IT and they feel like suffocated. They think that this career, whatever I have chosen, the technology which I have chosen, the type of job I have chosen within the IT is overwhelming and they want to switch over. They don't want to continue in that particular stream. Sometimes people learn, but they think that I'm not able to continue whatever I have learned because I'm not able to understand, I'm not able to catch up. Because each of us are different. Each of us has different type of mind, type of brain, type of functionality, type of personality. So I'm trying to give an overview of all different types of career options available within the IT, within the software, because IT itself is like a combination of multiple oceans. Other than IT, you have like accounting jobs, engineering jobs, mechanical engineering jobs, civil engineering job, law. There are so many different types of careers, but from outside world, if you look at it, looks like only one software field, but that software field itself has again multiple oceans within it. And I'm trying to cover all those oceans in next 1 hour or 1.5 hour, whatever the time you want to give me. But I'll try my best to cover most of these things. And I'm sure I cannot cover everything. Even if I want to talk about each of those options in brief, it takes like 4 or 6 hours for me. So I'm trying to squeeze in a lot of oceans into a small cup of coffee or water, whatever you call. So I'm trying to squeeze the big topic into a small topic. I'll try my best to cover most. Let's see, hope you like it. Before I go into each of those options, what are the prerequisites for the IT jobs? This is an important question people have to ask. Those who are coming into IT, new to IT, they have to ask themselves, what are the different prerequisites for the IT jobs? So many of the times what happens is people think I am from a commerce background, I am from science background, I did BSc, I did MSc, I did civil engineering. So each one of us are coming from different background and they think that IT jobs are only for the people who are coming from like MCA or BTech computers or MTech computers, something like that. That is one concept we have in our society. So that's not real. So if you have any university degree, you can come in IT. People without university degree can also come in IT, but these days the employers are getting a lot of job seekers coming to them with a university degree. So they are preferring to hire people with the university degree. Without university degree, it is really hard as of now, as at present, to get a job in IT. But people without university degree, if you have an extraordinary experience in one particular field, you might be able to work in IT as a freelance developer. You don't have to get a job in one company because the employers who are trying to hire you, they are looking for a university degree. So it's not about you are not competent, you are competent, you have all the abilities to work in the company, but unfortunately the employers are looking for a university degree. Some of the employers might be looking for only computer science degree, but that's not a prerequisite, right? I am not a computer engineer, and I am talking about computers today, right? And the second point I am trying to talk about here is a person has to be quick learner. These are the prerequisites. If you think you have these abilities, you will be able to get a job in IT. You are eligible to get a job in IT. So quick learner, what I mean to say is, I'm joining a company, right? When I joined the company, on that particular day, they might be starting a new project. But in many of the places, the project is already there and few people are already working. And for months or years, that project is already doing good. They are hiring you to maintain the project, to find out the issues, to solve the problems within that existing project. So if you join the company, you should be able to learn about that project. For example, a supermarket project. You should be able to know what is supermarket, how many departments supermarket has, what is finance department means, what is sales department means, what is the different connection between finance and sales, how many departments they have. All that information you should be able to learn within few days. They are not going to give you 6 months or 1 year to learn about their system, their way of working, right? That's what called domain knowledge, right? The other knowledge is technological knowledge. Even if you are working in one particular stream, you have a lot of knowledge, but that particular company might be using different set of tools. So you should be able to quickly understand how those tools are going to work because you have never used those tools in your life, right? So for example, uh, let's talk about myself. I am a Java developer, right? They will be hiring me because I have a experience in Java development, but I need some kind of a database knowledge also. And in my previous project, I have used MySQL, right? In new project, if they are using DB2, I should be able to catch up the DB2. Even if they are not expecting me to be a DB2 expert, I should be able to learn basics of DB2 quickly. Quickly means within few weeks or a month, right? So quickly learning the domain, quickly learning the technology is a prerequisite for all the IT jobs. It doesn't matter what kind of IT job you are choosing. In all the IT jobs, quick learning is a requirement, right? And sometimes what happens is they buy a new tool and you have to learn the tool immediately, quickly, right? The other important prerequisite for the people who are trying to get a job in IT is client satisfaction or customer satisfaction. Sometimes what happens is your customer will come back and say, I want my product to be like this. I want these changes. You cannot say that change is impossible, that change cannot be done, that change is ridiculous. You cannot just scold at your customer. If you think whatever the requirements are coming from the customer, they are not so good, they are not practical, you have to convince. You cannot simply outrightly say, you are stupid, this requirement is stupid, this whatever the ask you are making is nonsense. You can do that, but in a diplomatic way. You have to say, this is not correct, this is not right, but in polite way, you have to say, that is important in IT. And logical thinking and problem solving is required for almost all the IT jobs. Any job in IT, those two things are like a prerequisite. They are common for all the jobs in IT. And when you are working in a company, whatever the project, whatever the product you are working, you have to feel it is your own product. But at the same time, don't be too emotional, because one fine day you might be leaving the job or they might be firing you because they don't have money or the project is over or something. But as long as you are working, you have to feel it is your own product and you have to love what you are doing, right? Communication is the very important point, because this IT is all about English language. So English language communication is important. But once you join the company, if you have a colleague, you can speak in your own language, that is fine, but not in the client meetings or team meetings. So for example, two people are talking to each other, they can use Telugu, Hindi or Tamil, whatever the language they want to use. But in team meetings and client meetings and all those meetings, you should be using English language for the communication. And the important point is you should be having a verbal, written, listening, presentation, negotiation, and convincing. So some of the jobs require a lot of verbal, some of the jobs require a lot of listening, some of the jobs require a lot of presentation. But all these type of traits we are expecting from a job seeker who is trying to get a job in IT, right? And ability to work in a team. You cannot say, oh, I am going to work by myself. That kind of people are not suitable for the IT jobs. There may be some rare cases, 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000, but almost every job requires you to work with different types of people. Their technology is different, their brain is different, their functionality is different, the way they behave is different, but you should be able to work in the team. Multidisciplinary skills. So as I said, I am a Java developer, but I have to have some kind of knowledge about the SQL, some knowledge about the Git, some knowledge about some network, some storage, some other knowledge is required. So multidisciplinary skills is one of the prerequisite for all the IT jobs. The last bullet point is about common things like network. Everyone needs to know what is network, what is storage system, what is server, how they work. Those are the basic things. Almost everyone is must have to have. So what are the different career options within the IT department? So I'm trying to start. So for example, I'm trying to start a brand new project. I have like $4 million and I want to invest that $4 million and make a product or some kind of a service or something, right? Otherwise, someone gave me a project, a government project I have received, and the government says you have to implement so and so things. What I will do generally, I will hire the project manager. I'm going to hire the business analyst. So that's how I listed these things. And who is supposed to be a project manager or technology manager or scrum master, who is supposed to be a business analyst, who is supposed to be a tech writer, right? So these first 3 bullet points are non-technical. These people might know a little bit about the technologies, but they need not be masters in any of the technologies. What kind of skills they need to have is people skills, talking to people, convincing people, and trying to make a presentation, the person like a salesman. That kind of skills are required in these first 2 bullet points. Project manager or technology manager or scrum master or business analyst, these roles doesn't require technology, right? So if you are thinking that you cannot be a master in the technologies, you don't want to be in the technologies, but you have an ability to talk to people, you have an ability to present something, you have an ability to explain about something, you have an ability to grasp a problem and propose the solutions, and you will be able to draw a bigger picture, you will be able to draw a flow chart. Those are the people required in first 2 bullet points. They must be master in communication skills, people skills, and if there is a team and those team has different types of personalities, you will be able to make them work. That is important here. You will be able to deal with the customer. If customer is coming up with some kind of a weird requirement, you have a ability to convince the customers and explain them their requirements are not practical. All those people are right fit, perfect fit for point number 1 and 2. The third bullet point is about technical writer. These jobs are not too many in the field, in IT field, but there are some big companies, they hire 1 or 2 technical writers. What these technical writers will do is, a person with MA literature or BA English or some kind of honors, PhD in English, those are the people right fit for the technical writer position. What they do is they are going to prepare the training materials. So for example, Microsoft developed Excel product, and the Excel product has to be sold, and they have to go in public and say Excel product is this, why we made the Excel product, how it works. They have to write steps, how to install and how to go to next page and do what, how to use the product, right? So training manuals, training sessions, training presentations, these are the things they do. They don't have to sell the product because product is already sold, and they are creating a training material and manual for the software. Those are the people who are working as a technical writers. Sometimes they work with the legal team also if they have some kind of a lawyers and they want to write, for example, end user agreement. The end user agreement will be written by someone who is tech savvy, little bit of tech savvy, but more on the language side. And they have to choose the right keywords to use, and they have to work with the legal team so that you will write a best end user agreement, and you are trying to make sure your product is safe, your company is safe, right? The other type of jobs within the IT are system administrator, network administrator, or cloud engineer. And these days, a little bit of DevOps is in between. DevOps is kind of a little bit of system administrator, a little bit of developer. In between, there is a job. So these jobs are different, their roles are different, the requirements are different, but all these jobs are dealing with systems. Systems in the sense you have developed an application, that application has to be deployed on a server. So how to configure a server, how to make sure the server is secure, and how the deployment process happens, how the application moves from one environment to other environment. These are the basic things they do, how to maintain the firewalls, open the firewalls, right? Those are the things they do. And I said in the beginning, all those prerequisites are applicable for this particular job also, like problem solving and all those things. The other types of jobs in IT are database jobs. Within the database, again, there are so many different subcategories. DBA is one of the category, ETL, data warehousing, reporting, PL SQL, and there are many other jobs which are related to database. So if you are a person who try to understand, who have ability to understand, who has passion to understand data and how the data works, how the data layout, if there are like hundreds of tables and what is the relation between those tables, how to manage the data, how to make sure the data is 100% available, it cannot go down, and you have backups, all those things. If you, that is your passion, if you think that is your passion, you should be able to pick up any job within these different jobs I'm presenting here, like DBA, ETL, data warehousing, reporting, PL SQL, all these jobs like database programmer, database developer. Title can be anything. All of them are going to deal with some kind of a database. Again, within the database, there are two types of databases, like relational databases and NoSQL databases these days. So if you have a passion to work in that particular field, there are so many tools and technologies available you can learn, but that is one big ocean. So within that big ocean, there are again small oceans, right? One advanced part of the database side is data scientist. So data scientist is like a higher version, advanced version of your database jobs. Like database programmer is a basic version of the job. And if you have like a PhD, if you want to do a lot of research, then you can go towards the data scientist. Who is best for the data scientist is people who did like MSc. After MSc, they did PhD in mathematics, PhD in statistics. Those are the people best suitable for the data scientist job. So if you go back to your example of this COVID, so this COVID is happening and a lot of people are going to hospital. There are some people with small symptoms. There are some people with serious symptoms. Some people have died. Some people went to hospital and up to like ventilator stage. and came back. So there is a huge amount of data here. First of all, the data is coming from each country, data is coming from each state, data is coming from each district, and you have to analyze the data where there are more cases, where there are more serious cases, where there are more deaths, and based on this information, how the future looks like in next 3 months, what are we expecting? So in last 3 months, these many number of people got COVID. In next 6 months, how many people might get it, right? Based on the previous data, you are going to do the predictions of the future. So those are the things people are doing who are working in the data scientist job, right? There are more other career options within the IT. One is user experience UX or user interface UI. You can also call front end or web. So who is best suitable for this particular job? If you are a person who is creative, who thinks a problem from the customer's perspective. So your customer is saying, I want a screen. I want screen with these things. So for example, you are trying to design a news website, how the news website should look like, where are the menus should be, where is supposed to be a search box, right? And what kind of news you want to publish. So all these things, you are the one who is making the decision. And once you make the decision, you will go to your client and you will explain why you made the decision, right? So the people who are able to utilize the screen size. So screen size can be a cell phone, screen size can be a tablet, screen size can be a laptop computer, screen size can be a 32-inch monitor. But when you deploy the application should look good in all the screens, number one. And number two, you have to make sure the important things are on the main web page, and there has to be proper links to go to other pages. Even if it is a newspaper website, even if it is an application which is accepting information. For example, someone is trying to fill the MSET application form, job application form, right? So all these things will be decided by the person. We call them as a UX developer, user experience developer, user experience architect, UI developer, front-end developer. The names are different, but overall the person has to be creative. They should know how to create the images, how to select the fonts, how to select the colors, right? Colors, fonts, the screen size, screen area, and creativity. Those are the things are prerequisites. If you think you are that person, you should choose this particular field. You definitely need to learn some technologies. You need to have problem solving skills, communication and everything. But if you are not a creative person, if you don't know how to utilize these things like colors, fonts and images and all those things, better to choose some other thing, right? But if you are that kind of a person, you love your job and you enjoy your job, your employers love you, your managers love you, they want to keep you and they will hire you. And once you get hired, they appreciate your work. Within the UI UX, again, there is some kind of job career, which is mobile development. Mobile development is going to deal with the technologies which are into mobile, like for example, Android, right? Android or any iPhone technologies or Microsoft Mobile, all those technologies you will be able to work if you are into mobile, and that is also having very good market these days. Software engineer is a big loaded word here. Next bullet point. If you think you are a person who can create something, for example, you got like 4 pieces of wood. Using those 4 pieces of wood, you will be able to make a desk, you will be able to make a chair, you will be able to make something else. If you are a person who can create something, right? So if you are a creative person and you can create something with whatever the resources you have, you should be a software engineer. Here, the software engineer can be a Java developer, C developer, C++ developer, C# developer, or any other like R. And there are so many different languages available in the market. if any of the language, if you can write a program and create something, then you should opt for a job which is a software engineer job. You are the person who can create something. QA. Within QA, again, there are three different types of QAs are there. One is functional QA, who is going to test the functionality. Performance QA is the one who is going to do the performance testing. And these days, there is a robotic process automation, RPA. That is another new thing coming up in the IT field. So who is supposed to be key QA, right? If you are a person who you are so enthusiastic to find out something. For example, you found, again, I am going back to my four wood pieces, right? You found a wood piece, you will break that wood piece and you want to see what is there inside. That kind of a person you are, right? You will see a flower. One person is going to see, oh, this is very good flower. The other person is going to open the flower and they want to see inside what is there inside. What micro level you want to go and see what is happening, right? If you are that kind of a person, you are the successful QA. You always think there is something wrong. For example, you bought a product from a shop, you bought a chair. Before you bring that chair to your home, you are trying to make sure whether this chair is going to break. If two people are sitting on the chair, it is going to break. That kind of a person you are. If you are that kind of a person, you should choose the QA job, right? Many of the times people choose the QA job because it is easy to grab. That's not correct. If you are QA type of a person, that is your personality, then you have to choose the QA job. So functional QAs are going to test the functionality, and performance QAs are going to test the performance. So if 100 people are using, how much load it is, whether the server is going to withstand or not. So those kind of performance things they do, right? And network also they will check. So they are trying to make sure if 1,000 people are using my website, whether the website is going to handle or not, whatever the internet connections we are using, are they enough or not? So those kind of things you are going to check in the performance testing. Robotic process automation is you are trying to automate the testing process more advanced way. So there are more tools available in this market right now. If you learn those tools and use those tools, then you can be a RPA developer, right? And once the product goes to production, we want to make sure that product is working fine. So for example, bbc.com. So they want to make sure the bbc.com is available 24/7. And when people click on any of the news, that news is able to open in your browser within so many milliseconds. So whether the performance is working as expected, they will be doing the monitoring. There are so many monitoring tools. So the people who can learn these tools, configure these tools and recommend these tools and maintain these tools, they are the performance monitoring team. So that is another different type of career option within the IT department, IT field. The embedded systems is age-old technology, is nothing new, like 20, 30 years ago also it was there. So embedded systems are like, for example, recently they have sent a rover to Mars, right? So that rover has to work there. Some kind of technology is embedded inside the hardware. So the technology can be as simple as a printer driver. So there is a printer is a hardware, but inside the printer driver, there is some software installed. When you say I'm printing one paper, it has to print one paper. If you say print back and front, then it has to print back and front. All these kind of different instructions are written in one particular language, like most of the time C language, and they will be embedded into a hardware, some machine, right? So that's what embedded technology is. And finally, one last bullet point is the tool specific. There are so many different tools available in the software field. So for example, Splunk is one tool. SAP is one tool. PeopleSoft is one tool. if you become specialization in that particular tool, then you can learn the technology and master the technology, and you will be able to become a tool specialist and join as a one of the career within the IT field. So I'm going to make a pause here, because each of these bullet point I can talk about like half an hour. It's a huge information, lot of information. uh, One question I am looking at here: how cloud technologies have impacted the database jobs. Right. So cloud is not impacting just the database, everything it is impacting. So for example, the Java developers, I am a Java developer, and we used to develop something and we used to have our own servers in our own company. But these days, the servers are somewhere sitting in the cloud, and we have to connect to those servers and deploy. So the way we used to deploy, the way we used to handle things have changed now, right? So that is one big difference for the Java developer. Similarly, for the database people, those databases were our own databases. So we used to have one database like, and clouds, again, there are so many different types of clouds like AWS cloud, uh, Google cloud, and Apple cloud. These are the big companies, and there are so many small companies, they have their own private clouds. So based on the pricing and cost, company is going to choose which. Assistant system admin. Generally, when you say assistant, you are looking for a junior position, and junior positions are there in every company. And whenever you are looking for a junior position, first is you have the company is also not expecting a lot of experience from you. On day one, they are not expecting you to join the job and solve the problems, right? But if you are saying I have like 15, 20 years of experience, they are going to offer more salary. You can demand more salary. But at the same time, the expectation is on day one, you are productive. They are not going to give you 2, 3 months or 1 year to sit there and learn something. But people who are coming directly from the college or with 1 or 2 years experience with lower salaries, they are not going to expect you to do some wonders within 1 week or 1 month, right? And before I go further, there are any questions anymore? And out of these all technology types of careers I have presented, which career option you want to go in detail? I'm trying to get your feedback. I'm not sure whether you can unmute and talk. Okay, software engineer. Okay, let's go to software engineer job. I'll come back. So here is the software engineer job. Okay. So first, software engineer job, as I said, any of the developers are considered as software engineers. That is common understanding. If you go to any of the job website, for example, Naukri.com, Master.com, or Dice.com, search for software engineer job, you will find programming languages primarily, right? So the important characteristics of a person before you opt for a software engineer job, you have to ask yourself, do you have these qualities? Ability to self-manage. What happens is your manager comes and he says, these are the 4 things you have to work on. Out of 4, sometimes they will give you a priority, sometimes they don't give you a priority. Sometimes those 4 are related, sometimes those 4 are independent. You have to understand which one I have to pick, whether I have to develop A or B or both A and B together. And your manager is flexible. Your manager says these 4 you have to develop, these 4 you have to fix, these four you have to deliver, right? So you have to decide which one goes first, whether I want to use a for loop, whether I want to use if condition, whether I want to use while loop. All those things I have to make the decision. So you should be able to self-manage the work and never give up. Never give up is another important characteristics of a software engineer. Many of the times what happens is you will be stuck with some problem, some kind of a stubborn issue. You are searching on internet, you are talking to your friends, you are reading the books, you are doing all sort of things. You are not able to solve the problem. But you cannot give up. You cannot go back to your manager and say, this problem is impossible to solve. You have to solve. It is you. And once you solve the problem, you feel good. So if you are a person, if you are a type of a person who can solve the problem and feel good after solving the problem, but you are not going to give up, then you are the right person to become a software engineer or software developer. Keep learning. Keep learning is normally required in all the jobs, but in case of software engineer jobs, it is kind of a demanding skill requirement. The people who want to keep learning every week, every 3 months, every one year, you want to learn something new, then you should be an engineer. I have written the code. I don't want to, not going to happen. First of all, you are writing the code for the company and company is paying for that, right? Be open-minded. You cannot say it is my code, it is my secret, I'm going to hide it somewhere. You cannot, Maven or whatever the technologies you are using like CVS, it goes there and everyone will be able to see it. And you cannot say, I have written some code and I'm going to keep it for myself. I have written some script and that script is very useful, but I am not going to share with other developers. The attitude, that's not the right attitude for software engineer. Open-minded. The open-minded is really important for most of the software jobs, but in case of software engineer, you have to be a little more open-minded because sometimes you have written the code and a tester comes back and says that there is a bug, there is a defect, that outcome doesn't look good. You cannot say, I have written, that's what correct. You have to be open-minded to accept the criticism if someone is trying to criticize, especially the testers, the QA developers. They will come back and criticize your functionality, which you have developed in last 1 month or 6 months or whatever. You did a lot of hard work. You put a lot of energy into that to develop, and they are coming and criticizing you. So you have to be open-minded and accept that. And whatever the code you have written, that code will be reviewed by others. So when others are reviewing, they will criticize your code. You can either convince them your code is good or accept if there is a flaw and change it. So open-mindedness is important. Positive attitude is important for the developers, the software engineers. Follow and establish the best practices. So if you are a senior developer, senior software engineer, you will be establishing the best practices. And if you are a junior software engineer, you have to follow the best practices established by your seniors, your managers, your company, your management, right? You have to be honest. You are trying to introduce some kind of a bug in the code because you don't know how to resolve it and you are not telling anyone. And your manager don't know any. If your testers are not able to detect it, then it goes to production. You have to be honest. And sometimes what happens is you are not solving the problem because of the time crunch or something. You should inform your manager and say that this I'm not trying to finish today, but I'm going to finish in next year's knowledge, Maven knowledge, build knowledge, some kind of a technology, MQ knowledge, so many other technologies you need to have. So the broad technical exposure is required for the software engineers. And understanding the big picture is required for the senior people and architect level of people. Analytical knowledge anyway is required for all the software jobs. And one of the different type of software engineer is mobile. In the beginning, they are going to deal with these technologies. I have listed very few here. There may be many more like Ruby, R, Python, Java, C, C#, .NET, VBNet, all these different technologies and tools. people might be using. I try to find out some technologies which are commonly used by the software engineers and developers. Any careers with finance and IT merged in one job. So there is one technology called Oracle Financials. So that job is definitely in between IT and finance. Other than that, there are finance managers like chief finance officer or any other who is maintaining the money, and the project managers who maintain the money. For example, 4 lakh, otherwise $4 million budget is allocated for the project, and you have to divide that money into 4 different months, 4 different what you call departments. For example, there is a testing department, there is a quality assurance department. Otherwise, within the company, there are like sales department, IT department. So the people who manage the money, manage the budget, the project managers, they are the people who will manage finance. And that kind of a career is in between finance and IT. DevOps. Let me go to DevOps. DevOps is here. So in the DevOps world, as I said in the beginning, DevOps is in between system administrator and a developer. So the person who is having little bit of development knowledge, little bit of system administration knowledge, that person is the right fit for the DevOps job. And the common tools they are using these days for the DevOps are like Bitbucket, Git, CVS and PVCS. Those are the old technologies. Some companies are still using them. Jenkins, Puppet, Bamboo. Groovy is a programming language they are using for the pipelines and those things. Kibana and Splunk, if people are using, you have to maintain them, you have to administer them, you have to give permissions, who can access, who cannot access. Artifactory, establishment of Artifactory, Ant, Maven, Gradle, these are the different other technologies people are using. And you need to know some kind of a IAM, identity and access management, virtual private connections, virtual private networks, network security, network traffic. In terms of modern technologies, cloud technologies like AWS, Google, and all these things, right? So the people who are in between system administrator and the developer, they are the people come under the bucket of DevOps. So if you have a little bit of development experience and development passion, but at the same time, you want to be on the system administration side, right? You might be writing some small scripts, some small programs, but at the same time, you have a lot of system administration knowledge. So those are the people are in the DevOps. I'll go back to your front end UI side. Yeah. So here is the UI. As I said in the beginning, the people who are working on UI, user interface or user experience, UI, UX, or web development or front-end development or mobile development, the primary ingredient they have to have in their personality is creative. They have to be creative. They have to know how to use colors, fonts, images, how to create images, how to modify images. So for example, you are trying to create a button and the button has to be like kind of a like bulging kind of a thing, a funny kind of a character, depending upon what kind of industry you are working. And technological knowledge is knowledge in terms of like CSS, HTML, React, VJS, TypeScript. These are the modern technologies people are using. There may be many more, but these are the few examples. And in terms of tools, people are using like Eclipse or RAD or IntelliJ or Visual Code. These are the different tools people are using in terms of front-end technologies or UI technologies or user experience technologies. The important point, as I said in the beginning, you have to know how to utilize the screen size. And if that screen size is changing, whether the application is behaving good or it looks awkward. It should not be like stretched. It should not be like too much scrolling. The information has to be handy. Information has to be user-friendly. Those are the things, if you are able to manage and you are best in that particular stream, you can pick up this job of UI, UX, web, or front end, right? Joining a TCS at low profile like assistant system admin trainee is okay. We'll get time to build our interest in those technology like Python, Java, Spring, being software engineer firm like yours. Assistant system engineer trainee, which means you are a fresher and you are trying to become a system administrator or system engineer. System engineer generally means like Windows Server or Unix Server or like WebLogic Server, WebSphere Server, any of these servers, installing, maintaining, configuring, monitoring, testing, that side is called system engineer or system administrator. Software engineer is the one who is developing the application using some technology, as you mentioned, Python or Java or some kind of a language, right? You have some language and that language you are using to develop the application. So either you learn some kind of a language and become a software engineer, or you become a system administrator. But if you want to be in between these two, then you are DevOps. The people who are working in the DevOps, they are having some kind of a knowledge on the system administration side, and they have some kind of a knowledge on the programming side. They might be using like Groovy or Scala, some language. They might be using Python language, but at the same time, they are doing the system administration. So you can be either system administrator, or you can be a system engineer, it's a software engineer, or you can be DevOps. So there are three different profiles. The one side of the profile is system administrator, system engineer, network administrator, network engineer, cloud engineer. The other side is you have a software engineer, software developer. In between, there is DevOps. So based on your prior knowledge, experience, and passion, you have to choose which one you want, right? How a new person can enter into an IT industry? That's really important question for this particular session today. As I said in the beginning, there are different types of jobs available, right? If you think you are able to resolve the problem between people, there are two people working in a company, and those two people are coming from different personalities. Someone is very aggressive, someone is very soft, and you have to make sure they both are happy in your company. They both work together. If you are that kind of a person, you can become a project manager, product manager, system manager, some kind of a manager in a company, right? If you know how to manage the money, how to manage the schedules, you can be a project manager, right? If you are a person who is creative, then you can become a UI developer or software developer or full stack developer, right? But if you are a very intuitive person, you want to break something and see what is in it, then you can be a QA developer or tester, right? So first of all, you have to understand who you are, what kind of a personality you are, because you are not like a fifth grader or kindergartner. You should know about you, who you are, what kind of a person you are. Then you have to choose what kind of field you want to go into, right? And for example, I have decided I want to become a QA. Then I have to learn the QA tools. So for example, these days Selenium is going very hard, right? So if you learn Selenium technology, otherwise you are going to learn RPA technology, then you can excel in that particular field because you have chosen based on what kind of a person you are, first of all. Then you have to learn that technology, give you 100%. That's how you enter into IT industry, right? Yeah, SAP also has a financial module. Yes, Oracle Financial, SAP. All the ERP systems have their own financial module and material handling module, HR module. In all these SAP, this ERP application, enterprise resource planning ERP, like PeopleSoft, SAP, and this Oracle. Also, all these companies have come up with their own ERP technologies, enterprise resource planning ERP, right? Can we excel in support field, cloud support? Support is big loaded word. So you a cloud support, you can be a network support, you can be a Java production support, C# production support, you can be a like what you call QA support. Performance monitoring is one of kind of support, right? So when a big application in big company, there are so many applications running, any application can have some kind of a problem. And the people who are sitting in the customer support, they are not technology savvy, right? So once they know the problem is not their jurisdiction, they will push that problem to you. You should be able to troubleshoot what is the problem, how it happened, whether it is really a problem or it's like some kind of a misunderstanding. So all those things comes into picture if you are working in support, right? Salaries overview. Salaries overview is depending upon each country, each what you call each district, each city. Most of the time, salaries depend on the cost of living of the city. Last time when I was talking about the resume and interviews, I touched upon this subject last time. Oh, just for the refresh again one more time. The people who are working in California, San Jose, the cost of living is very high in that place. Like $2,500, $3,000 you have to pay for a 2-bedroom apartment in San Jose. But if you go to like Atlanta, you might get like $1,500, $1,600. You might get 2-bedroom apartment in Atlanta, right? So in which city you are going to get your job, the salary changes. And if you are a senior person, you can negotiate for higher salary. If you are a junior person, you cannot negotiate a lot because getting a job is important for you. And they also know on day one, you are not going to deliver anything. You need some kind of a learning period, learning curve, some kind of a ramp up period. So they are not going to give you higher salary. You are not going to demand more salary. But people with the senior profile, like 15, 20 years of experience and experience in multiple technologies, they might demand more money. So if you have more experience, more technologies, you will get more money. And if you have less experience, you will get less money. And the same thing is true for people in India or Gulf countries or US or any place else, right? Any other questions? Any other field you want to go in depth?
Fasiba, you want me to unmute the participant so they can talk to you directly?
Yes, please.
Okay, fine. Let me unmute just. Yes, so now you have an option, everyone, that you can unmute yourself. You can ask the question directly with Mr. Fasi.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Alim Sheikh. I'm a Java developer. So, what is the latest technology in Java, and which one is a better feature for? If I learn, which one is the better feature?
In Java world, the latest one which is running right now is mostly the cloud. And if you are on the security side, you have to have better understanding of SSO, single sign-on. If you can do single sign-on configuration, single sign-on management, single sign-on security features and all those things, you will have very better bright future. But in Java world, Spring is the one which is leading. And if you know everything about the Spring, you will have better future. And if you don't know Spring, then there may be 10% of the jobs you will be able to apply for. But if you know Spring, rest of the 90% of the jobs you will be eligible. Other than Spring, everything else is normal. Like upgrade in Java every 1 year, every 6 months, you will see some kind of a new features coming. But that's not important. Not every company is going to adopt every new feature coming in the Java technology.
Yeah, and I have one more question also. Developer, like always developer only. How cloud will be impact to developer? If
As I said
cloud,
in the beginning itself, the developers are going to develop your application. For example, you are writing a public static void main, whether you are installing on your local laptop, whether you are installing your own server, whether you are installing on AWS, it is still public static void main. But the difference is how you are deploying the application, where you are deploying the application, how the application is going to behave in the cloud. That is important. And in terms of deployment also, if you have your own server, you know your server is like 64 GB RAM. But when it deploys to the cloud, they are trying to deploy in a smallest server, and your application has to perform. So these days, the world is going towards microservices. They are developing all the small services and deploying into a small containers like OCP. I was telling in the beginning, right? OCP containers, AWS containers, or like any other cloud containers. They are small application containers. They are not going to have like 64 GB RAM or 4-core CPU, right? So you have to, the people who are into the Java development or any other development, they have to recognize their application is not going to have enormous amount of resources when it goes to production. So your application is supposed to perform in an environment where the resources are limited. So that is the real challenge for the people who are senior and developers. Right? Any other questions?
Hello.
Yep.
Could you go in detail
Actually, I would
regarding?
request, like, if you are not asking, please mute yourself. And once you are done with the question, please mute yourself. And yes, it is open forum. Everyone can ask. Feel free to ask any kind of question, whatever you are having. But let's maintain a decorum. Just when you are asking at that time, only unmute yourself, and then so that we don't get any disturbance. Thank you.
Hello. Could you go in detail regarding business analyst jobs?
Business analyst. Yep, definitely. So let me go to that slide. I have one slide for each of them. Yeah. So here is a business analyst. So the important.
Sound is very slow. Huh? Sound is very slow, please.
Is it not readable?
No, sound. Your sound is very slow.
Okay.
no,
Okay,
no. Actually,
clear
we can
for us.
hear you properly, Fasi bhai.
maybe he has.
Brother, please check at your end. Actually, maybe you may be having. Please increase your volume.
Okay.
Maybe that.
It's clear.
Okay, right. So the business analyst job requires few important points here. Understanding the big picture is important. So the people who are working in the business analyst. So for example, your company has got a big contract, a government contract or a private contract. For example, in India, if I'm talking about, I got a contract from BHEL company. For example, here in US, I got a contract from Toyota Motors, right? When I got the contract, someone has to sit on that contract and analyze. They have to see how that problem can be solved and how that product can be developed, how that kind of software application has to be developed. So they have to come up to a big picture. They have to draw a diagram. They have to write the requirements line by line. First of all, they have to explain to the customer. They have to explain to the customer how you are going to solve the problem. And once you solve the problem, okay. So once you go, you have created the problem solution on a paper, you will go back to your client and explain, this is how we are planning to solve the problem. And your customer says, no, I don't want this. You will come back and you will rewrite, you will go back and review again. So it might happen in between like 2 or 3 times you will go to the customer and you will get the requirements done. Once you get the requirements done, you will come to a developer, a database administrator, a system administrator, and you will explain them, this is the problem we are trying to solve. They will give their input, and sometimes there will be some kind of a requirement gaps in between. So the people who are working in the business analyst, that is their job to create the big picture, propose the solution, and discuss with the client, and discuss with the developers, discuss with the system administrators, discuss with the database administrators to understand how we can solve the problem and what the client is asking for. So you are like a bridge between client and your whole company team. And you also have to make sure you are not going to go beyond the budget, right? You are trying to propose a solution of $5 million, whereas the budget is only $1 million, right? So you have to find out how easily we can solve the problem within the budget. And in case of budget, you are going to get some kind of assistance and help from the project manager, right? And replication. So your client, you went to a client, you had a meeting with the client, and client has explained the problem. You have written something, some notes. When you come back to your company, you will be able to reproduce, right? Client is telling something and you forgot. Some important point you forgot. So listening skills are really prerequisite for a business analyst. If you are not a good listener, if you don't know how to reproduce whatever you have listened, better not to go for a job called business analyst. The people in business analyst position fail when they don't listen or they cannot reproduce whatever they have listened. So today morning you went for a client meeting, afternoon you came back and you are talking to your team. You should be able to reproduce each line, each word, each sentence of your client as is, without any distraction, without any distortion, right? And you should have a convincing skills. You should be able to convince your client whatever the problem solution, that solution is the best. Again, you come back to your developer, your development team, or your database team, or your network administration team, and you should be able to convince this is a really important feature client is looking for. If you cannot develop this, client is not going to accept it, right? So you should have a convincing skills on both sides because you are the bridge between client and your team. Decision facilitation skills. These are the important skills required. So when people are making the decisions, you have to help them. You have to facilitate those decisions. Your client is saying, I want a screen. You have to tell them, you have to advise them, this kind of a screen is good. Here is the example. This is how it works. Do you like it? Right? And attention to detail. Many of the times, small things we forget and we don't implement that. And client says, my product is not going to work. My project is fail if that essential part is missing. So you have to have attention to detail, critical thinking, conflict resolution. Conflict resolution happens. Your database administrator says, I want 4 tables. Your developer says, I can manage with 3 tables. So there is a conflict. Now you have to intervene, being a business analyst, and say something about it. You cannot simply sit there and watch them fighting with each other. Of course, managers will do it, but you are again like an assistant manager. You are assisting the manager. You have to end of the day solve the problem and deliver the product to the client. You cannot be sitting in the meeting for whole day doing nothing, right? Sometimes what happens, like 15 people, 30 people sitting in a room, 30 multiplied by 1 means 30 hours of time invested on that particular project. Everyone is getting paid. So the 30 hours of time, you have to make sure it is productive. It's not wasted. Process modeling knowledge, preparing the visual diagrams. So these are the important skills required for the business analyst. If you are a business analyst, you have to create a model. You have to tell them how the application data flows, how the application is going to behave. If there are multiple modules in the application, how those modules are going to interact with each other, right? And you have to, if possible, create a visual diagram with all the arrows and different shapes and show them how each product, each module is going to interact with other module. Sometimes there are different other clients. You have to connect to those clients. These days, there is a web services world. So you have developed a web service, and that web service will be consumed by other client. The other client is going to consume your web service, right? So all these things you will be able to visualize and show it to client and show it to your team, you are the perfect business analyst. Apart from that, you also have this verbal, written, presentation, email, and other knowledges, right? And in the meetings, business analyst is the first person to speak. In most of the meetings, the person who is called manager or business analyst, they are the one who start the conversation. They have to say, we are talking about this particular thing today. This meeting is scheduled for this particular thing, right? And one important point for the business analyst and the manager, these two people, they should appreciate. They are supposed to appreciate. Generally, developers, testers, these are the people, they don't have to, if they appreciate, that is good. But the people who are working as a business analyst and the manager, they should appreciate. So for example, 4 developers are working very hard and one fine day the product is went to production. Manager comes back and say, thank you team, right? Sometimes managers will bring donuts. Sometimes they will bring a sweet box. Sometimes they bring breakfast. Sometimes they bring a coffee. They have to make sure the team is happy. Team is going to deliver when you have to show the appreciation in terms of words and in terms of other means, like going on an outing, going on a picnic, team building activity, right? The primary job these people do, the business analyst, is collect the requirements, business requirements, functional requirements, creating the test cases. Actually, creating the test cases will be done by the testers, but business analyst is going to assist the testers or review the test cases created by the testers. And sometimes in some small companies, business analysts are the one who create the test cases and also do the testing. In some companies, the business analyst is going to test the application in UAT environment or pre-production environment, right? They should have very good understanding and knowledge or the certifications in the Kanban, Agile, Scrum, or anything like that, right? In terms of technologies, they need to have very good knowledge about the Word, Excel, Project, PowerPoint, Visio, Agile, Confluence, Jira. These are the different technologies and tools. And there are some certifications which I have listed here. This is all about the business analyst profile. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Yeah, I have a very important question.
Yep.
So that is, for example, as in, like you just mentioned all the roles, business analyst, developer, tester, DevOps.
Right.
I mean, one thing I want to, like, for example, I'm working as a contractor, or I'm working as a full-time employee. How much can I expect? Like you just mentioned, it's based on the state, based on the cost of living and all that. Like, for example, on an average, I'm here in Texas and I'm working for a Fortune 500 company. It's a big company, well-known company. How much I can expect for a Texas? Plano.
Which city? Plano, Texas.
Plano, yeah. So my employer is like USAA. They have hired me as a contractor. Now they want to take as a full-time employee. So how much I can demand and how I'm supposed to be, because my probation period is about to end.
What is the rent in Plano, Texas for 2-bedroom apartment?
I mean, all the big companies are moving here, so the cost of living is increasing very drastically here.
Right now, what is the rent?
Probably around $1,600 to $2,000.
$1,600 to $2,000 is the rent, and you are looking for a full-time job. How many years of experience you have?
8 years.
8 years of experience. You should be expecting at least $80,000 in Plano, Texas for that particular cost of living and that particular experience. But you might be expecting 100,000 if they are not giving you any health insurance like any other benefits. If they are giving you good benefits, they are giving health insurance for you and your family. They are giving you some transportation expenses, some kind of other expenses. They might give you even $70,000. So if they are giving more benefits, you will get less salary. If they are giving you like 401k match and all those things, you will get the less salary. But if you are not getting those benefits, you will get more salary. So your salary ranges between $70,000 to $100,000 based on what kind of benefits you are getting.
Okay, so right now I'm not a full-time employee. I'm as a
Correct.
contractor. So they are giving me 100. My contractor is giving me 130K right now. I don't know how much he is keeping. Now, if I am going for full-time, how much how much shall I demand? Because 130 is already they are giving, my contractor
100,000,
is paying me.
130 plus no benefits, right?
Yes, no benefits.
Right. If the company is giving you the benefits, they might give you 90K or 100K, not more than that. Company is not going to give more salary. They are going to get rid of the contractors to save the money, not like a charity or something.
So
Full-time
if I'm
employees will
going,
get full-time employees will get less salary because you will get the paid leave. You are going to get 401K benefits. You are going to get a lot of benefits, right? Because of all
right,
those
okay,
benefits, they will give you less salary and you have a job guarantee. Contractors can be fired with 1 day notice, or Friday evening they will say, don't come on Monday morning, right? But
right,
full-time
right.
employees, when they are firing, they have to give like 3 months salary, 1 month salary, something they have to give. That's why they are going to give you less salary as a full-time employee.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
Yep. Any other questions? One other question on this chart here is which field is supposed to be taking over in coming years, and what is really suitable for freshers, keeping in mind about the future scope. Around 2 or 3 months ago, there was another webinar by me. It is available on YouTube. We can repeat in future, maybe after 2-3 months. The webinar was about the technologies available coming up in future, next 20 to 30 years. What kind of technologies are going to rule the world? The video is available on YouTube. I had that webinar around December, January sometime, and that webinar has all that information. But people who are trying to start their career, they can start somewhere, whatever I mentioned just now. You can start as a software developer, then become artificial intelligence expert or AI expert or ML expert, or you might become embedded systems expert, robotics expert, but somewhere you have to start your career. But as I said, you have to understand what kind of a person you are. You are a creative person, you can be a developer, or you can be a UI UX developer or full stack developer. If you are kind of a intrusive person, you want to find if you find a wood, you are trying to break it and see what is there inside, then you are a very good tester. And if you are a person who can resolve the problems, resolve the conflicts, people person, presentation skills, you can be a business analyst or project manager or product manager or scrum master, that kind of a person. So choose your career based on what kind of a personality you have. Don't choose based on what is there in the demand in the market, right? Even if there is some big demand in the market for cyber security, you might not be successful because you are not that kind of a person or personality. And all of the software jobs require you to have a lot of attention to detail, and you should have a lot of patience, right? Any other questions? Briefly, what I will do is I will go back to my slides, right? So these are the prerequisites which we have already discussed. These are the different types of jobs we have already discussed. Project manager job, I have already told few things. So these are the things the project managers will do. The important point the project managers or project technical managers are going to do is establishing the best practices. They have to make sure the company is doing good in long term. So even if that manager is leaving the company, the established best practices will be followed when he leaves and new manager comes, right? They might change something, but they have to establish these things. And convincing the team and solving the problems, personal problems, giving the direction to the project. The project has to go in which direction. The project managers are the one who decide, right? Conflict resolution, diplomat. They are supposed to be diplomats. They have to tell you did very bad thing, but in a sweet manner, right? People are not supposed to leave the company because manager is scolding. And go-getter, many of the times the project managers and business analysts work hand in hand. They will be talking to the client, and when they go to client, they have to bring the business. They are not supposed to destroy the existing business. Because if the client is happy, client is going to give more money, more project, right? Further development. And there are some technologies I listed here. These are the common technologies required for the project managers. Business analysts we have discussed already. Cloud is other thing. So in olden days, we used to call system administrator or network administrator, but these days it is replaced with the cloud engineer or cloud related technologies. So some of the technologies I have mentioned here, there may be many more, but all these things are talking about a person who is going to maintain the systems. So in past, we used to have physical systems to be maintained, but these days we have virtual systems, which you are renting on cloud. It may be AWS cloud or any other cloud. It may be a private cloud maintained by a private company or some of your partner. Your own company might have their own cloud utilized by different departments, right? But end of the day, you are the one maintaining those systems. They are up and running. They have enough resources. CPU utilization is going 99.9% and you don't even know. And you have to have proper tools to monitor them, configure them, maintain them, make sure you are giving enough time to your managers to decide. For example, you have to increase the resources by 50%. You cannot all of a sudden come and say, oh, from tomorrow onwards, I need 50% more resources. You have to give enough notice, like a month notice or 6 months notice, and you have to give enough information to the managers based on the application usage so that they will take the decisions. And if something goes down, you are the responsible person. If something gets hacked, you are the responsible person, right? So some of the technologies here, you will see the exact same technologies for DevOps also, because DevOps is between the system engineer and the developer. The database technologies, there are so many different types of jobs within the data, like PL SQL developer, DBA, ETL developer, reporting developer, data warehousing developer, data scientist is one advanced version. And if you are too senior, like 15, 20 years of experience, you might become data architect. So some of the technologies I have listed here, stored procedures, triggers, that's where everyone starts their career. And you are in charge to maintain the data integrity, data replication, data performance. All these things, the people who are working in the database world are responsible to configure, maintain, otherwise develop. So if you go a little down, the crystal reports, SASS, SS reporting, SQL Server reporting, all these technologies, you don't have to be master in all the technologies. Some people are working in one particular tool for last 15, 20 years. For example, this Jasper reports, Pentaho reports, MuleSoft, right? Informatica, Abenisho. So people are working on that particular one technology for last 15, 20 years. But if you are starting your career, you have to make sure you have to have that kind of passion to work in the data world, number one. And number two, pick the tool which is having a very good reputation in the market. But no matter what, you have to start your learning curve from basics, like what is data integrity, and how to maintain the data integrity, and how many different types of databases you have, relational versus NoSQL databases, right? And these days, the data visualization is in the demand, like Tableau, Power BI, Visual Studio, and when too much information is available, then it has to be paginated. So all these things you have to keep in mind. But the important point is, do you have passion to become a data person? Data scientist is again advanced version of data type of job. As I said in the beginning, the people who are mathematicians, statisticians, someone did a PhD in mathematics, they are the right people to become data scientists, because they are going to develop the models, and those models will be used to predict the future and see how the past was performing. One simple example I can give on this particular front, there is a supermarket, and supermarket has multiple branches. Reliance Mart, for example, all India has a Reliance Mart. So the Reliance owners have to make a decision whether they have to open another Reliance Mart or close the existing Reliance Mart, which Reliance Marts are doing good, and in which area they are doing good. In some of the Reliance Mart, the vegetables are very hot cake. They are selling more vegetables. In some of the Reliance Marts, they are selling more grains. In some of the Reliance Marts, they are selling more milk. So they have to do that kind of a statistical analysis and give the feedback to the management. So the management is going to make the decision based on the feedback coming from the data scientists, based on the previous data, how they have to change the business process. They have to increase products, they have to introduce new products. All those things will be done, all that analysis will be done by the data scientist. And I have given another example of the COVID, right? COVID data, how many people are sick, how many people got COVID, how many people are seriously COVID. All these kind of models will be developed by the people working as a data scientist. There are a lot of technologies, some of them I listed here. UI, we have already discussed it before. Software engineer, we did. DevOps, we did. QA tester, as I said in the beginning, the QA people are the one who have to make sure the application goes to production without any defect. They have to make sure the application has a defect. You cannot simply trust the developer. Developer comes and says to the tester, oh, I developed the application, I tested it, and everything looks good. But the tester has to think there is a defect in the application, and I must have to I have to test it to make sure there is no defect, right? So that is an important quality of the test. I have provided few tools and technologies which are being used in this world, but the important point is the last bullet point. You have to be skeptical. You have to believe that there is a bug in the code, and I am going to find it today, right? So, and no compromise in quality. If there is a issue in the system, if developer is not listening, you have to escalate, you have to go to project manager and say that there is a problem. If project manager or system manager or technical manager, if they say, even if with that defect, I want to go to production, it is up to them. But reporting the issue is your problem. You have to report. And you have to focus on the negative side along the positive side. You have to make sure if I'm going to enter the number here, what happens, text, what happens, I don't enter anything, what happens, all these scenarios, you should be able to list. The important point is never give up. That's what you have to have. Creative mind, okay with monotonous work. You have to have, for example, there is an application and there are 16 different test cases, and every time they make some change, you have to execute all those 16 test cases. If there is an automation, the automation is going to catch something. But even if there is no automation, you have to execute those 16 cases 1600 times. You are not supposed to say it is too much, I'm not going to do this. That's who you are. If you are that kind of a person, then opt for the testing. Performance testing is similar thing, but little different. Here you are not going to do the functional testing, but you are trying to break the application by putting the more load. So more people are accessing, more frequently they are accessing, and how it is going to behave. So that's what you do. And you are going to give feedback to your managers, your system administrators, what kind of systems required. For example, when 4 million rows are there in your database, how the database is going to behave. Whether 16 GB RAM is enough or 64 GB RAM is required, that kind of a decision will be made by the system administrator. The feedback is coming from the performance testing team, right? And performance monitoring team is going to make sure application goes to production and it is working 24/7, and they are going to make sure the clients are happy. For example, I am the client, I'm accessing a bank application. I'm logging to bank and it is taking minutes and minutes and minutes to log in. I'm not going to open an account in the bank. The customers are going to run away from the bank. And I am trying to transfer $100. The transfer is not going through. The transfer page is not even opening it. So they have to make sure there are no errors in the application. There is no issue with the application. The application is performing good. That is the job of performance monitoring team. And they have tools. These are the different tools which I listed here. And they are going to keep looking at logs and systems. They are going to look at the hard drive, look at the CPU, look at the logs if there are any errors. That's what the job of performance monitoring team. They also monitor the systems of your partners. So for example, I am trying to transfer $100 from bank A to bank B. If bank B is down, bank A cannot do anything. You cannot simply say, okay, go ahead and transfer $100. But when I am trying to transfer that money is not going through because bank B is not responding. So this performance monitoring team is going to check before a customer comes if B is down. If B is down, immediately before you initiate that $100 transfer, your drop down is not going to see that particular bank, right? Otherwise, if that bank is down, immediately your customer is going to get an email saying that $100 you are trying to transfer, but right now B is down. Whenever B is up, that $100 will be transferred. So your customer is having a clear-cut information why that $100 did not get transferred. It's not because of A is down, B is down. These are some other technology streams like cybersecurity, embedded systems, and there are tools and technologies. In the beginning, I was telling. So some of the tool examples I have listed here. These are very few examples like SharePoint architect, SharePoint administrator, SharePoint developer, Splunk admin, Jira admin, ServiceNow admin, Data Power admin, Salesforce. There are so many technologies, and people are going to have their own career within these technologies. For example, SAP, within SAP, again, there are sub-departments. SAP is one particular tool, and within the SAP, again, there are so many sub-departments. So these are the different career options you have, but choose whatever is suitable for your personality. Look for your personality. Don't look for where you are going to get quick job or job with best salaries, right? Salary is going to come when you do good. When you are a master in that particular field, you are going to get the best salary. We used to have one person, he was a database expert. Company used to invite him when there is a big disaster.